On behalf of State Superintendent Joy Hoffmeister and the Office of School Support and Improvement, I'd like to welcome you to this presentation today. We'll be discussing reviewing resources as they apply to equity among subgroups. Before we begin, I want to review the overall work of the Office of School Support and Improvement. Our office works with schools who have the School Improvement Grant, or SIG, that is a cohort of schools from No Child Left Behind. We also work with the Striving Readers Comprehensive Literacy Schools, and we support the federally designated schools. At the center of all of our work is the belief that all students can grow and all schools can improve. All students deserve instruction focused on their growth, and all schools, including high-achieving schools, must be in a continuous process of improvement to keep up with changing student needs and evidence-based practices. The Office of Accountability uses the Oklahoma School Report Card to designate schools. All of these indicators work together for overall report card grades, but we also look at individual indicators to identify areas of need within our schools and across the state. The report card indicators for designated schools are academic achievement, academic growth, English language proficiency assessment progress, chronic absenteeism, graduation, and post-secondary opportunities. The Every Student Succeeds Act, or ESSA, federally designates schools based on state report cards. The three designations are Comprehensive Support and Improvement, or CSI, Targeted Support and Improvement, or TSI, and Additional Targeted Support and Improvement, or ATSI. The Comprehensive Support and Improvement Schools, or CSI schools, are made up of the 5% of lowest performing schools based on report card indicators. Also included in the CSI group are high schools with a graduation rate of 67% or lower, and schools earning an F in all reportable indicators. Schools who are currently designated as CSI receive professional development to create continuous improvement plans. They receive a school support specialist, one specialist for every 12 schools. They receive improvement funds of $50,000 per year and then additional competitive funds up to $200,000 per year. And the CSI schools are in a 3-year cycle of improvement, which will end in 2021. We currently have 101 designated CSI schools and have been working with them and their improvement plans since March of 2019. The second group of designated schools are Targeted Support and Improvement, or TSI schools. This is where one subgroup is performing at the same level as the lowest 5% of schools on 2 or more indicators over a 3-year period. These will be designated annually after the 2020 report card. Those schools will be required to work through a comprehensive needs assessment and a resource allocation review, and additionally, they will have an opportunity to attend regional professional development on the indicators of concern. The word subgroup refers to demographics of students such as ethnicity, English learner, or special education. Kelly Otis is our TSI director and is currently creating resources for when those schools are designated at the release of the next report card. The level of support and resources we will be able to offer the TSI schools will be based on the number of schools who receive this designation. Additional Targeted Support and Improvement Schools, or ATSI schools, are schools who have one subgroup that's performing at the same level as the lowest 5% of schools. These are designated each year. The ATSI school is simply a notification that you have one subgroup that needs to be paid attention to. There will be regional professional development on indicators of concern, and periodically we will be providing support webinars or virtual learning opportunities such as today. This is to really help schools be aware of how subgroups are performing year to year. We currently have 352 schools designated as ATSI. It is our intent to provide several layers of support for ATSI schools. We have provided resources for ATSI schools directly related to the report card and a process for using the 9 essential elements to focus in on subgroups. That webinar took place on August the 21st, and the link to that learning opportunity has already been sent to ATSI schools and can be found on our website. More learning opportunities will occur throughout the school year. Today, we're working through equity of resource allocation. After the release of the new report card later this fall, we'll provide an additional layer of support through regional face-to-face meetings where ATSI schools can bring a leadership team to work through the improvement process with help from the Office of School Support and Improvement. I would like to talk a little bit about the resource allocation review as it relates to the ATSI designation. Usually, resource allocation review refers to how people, time, and money are distributed. However, we are looking at resource allocation review as to how the dimensions that have the most impact on student achievement are distributed across subgroups. These 6 dimensions have a direct impact on the success of students: access to teacher quality, empowering rigorous content, instructional time, early intervention, whole child approach, family academic engagement. It's important to review the access our subgroups have to these impactful dimensions. For instance, it's fairly easy to say that a school has all of these dimensions present in their school. Examine the access your subgroups have to these dimensions. I'm going to give you some examples of how that might look in your schools. When we think about the dimension access to teacher quality, schools can ask themselves these questions. How are highly effective teachers distributed across schools and students of different subgroups? How are novice teachers distributed across students of different subgroups? It's important to answer these questions through the lens of the subgroup you are targeting, as opposed to the school as a whole. Empowering rigorous content is a dimension where we might ask ourselves the questions, how are students in different subgroups represented in high-level courses? And is that representation equal to their distribution across demographics? For instance, an elementary school may have a robotics program, or a secondary school might have an advanced placement program or college-bound curriculum separate from core curriculum. It's important for schools to examine these courses through the lens of the subgroup. Instructional time is another important dimension that impacts student achievement. Questions to ask are, how much instructional time do students miss during pull-out programs during the school day? And is there a link to student achievement? There may not be a link, but the question needs to be asked. For instance, a student may leave the regular classroom to participate in a gifted writing program. Schools need to be cognizant of the instruction the student is missing during the pull-out program. It may not be affecting their achievement at all, but the question needs to be asked through the lens of the subgroup. When we talk about early intervention, we need to ask, do interventionists and teachers collaborate regularly to ensure intervention supports for students who fall behind academically are integrated into and aligned with core instruction? Access to early intervention implies access to early screening and identification. It's imperative to work with teachers and families to ensure students are receiving interventions as early as possible and to examine this early intervention through the lens of a subgroup. When we think about the whole child approach, we need to ask ourselves, to what extent does each subgroup have access to targeted social and emotional instructional practices? And to what extent does each subgroup have access to a consistent and fair disciplinary process and positive school culture? Assessing this dimension requires examining access to the school counselor and other social emotional support structures, and of course looking at disciplinary procedures and referrals to ensure equal access. Again, this is through the lens of the subgroup which is being targeted. For family and academic engagement, we can ask ourselves, by subgroup, what percentage of parents report feeling welcome at their child's school? And by subgroup, what percentage of parents report being consulted and informed about the academic lives of their children? Schools who are looking to examine resource equity need to go beyond attendance at family nights to involvement of our subgroup families and the opportunity for the engagement the school is providing. Designated ATSI schools are uniquely situated to focus on identified subgroups and take the time to ensure equitable access to the dimensions that will have a direct impact on student achievement. We have descriptions of dimensions and the questions on documents that are attached to this presentation. To date, our contacts for ATSI schools has been through email to the superintendent of the district. Please contact me, Brooke Myler, at the email or phone number on the screen to add your name or the name of others who should be included in future contact. You can also contact Kelly Otis and Leslie Smith. Thank you so much for your time today. As always, the Office of School Support and Improvement is happy to work with you, so please don't hesitate to call or email with your questions and concerns.